Okay, so hello everyone. So in this quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a very simple iRig here in Toon Boom Harmony. Okay, so as we all know, si Toon Boom Harmony is a software capable of doing cutout animation. So usually in cutout animation, what we do is we extract the important parts of an asset or a design to make it animatable. So basically, hahanapin natin yung mga parts na kailangan gumalaw. So usually in production, what we do is we separate the important details. So for example, we have here a very simple eye. So here in this eye, we have three important parts or three important details. So we have here the eyeball, we have here the pupil or the iris, and we also have here the eyebrow. So as you can see here, if you're going to look at my network, I have separated this three drawings. So basically, each element or each detail is inside one layer. There you go. So what we're going to do here is that I'm going to create a hierarchy or basically controllers to make this drawings animatable or basically work as one. Okay, so here in Toon Boom Harmony, what we do is we simply create a hierarchy of pegs. So this hierarchy of pegs would be the one responsible for in selecting and moving these drawings. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be selecting all these layers, and then in my keyboard, I'm going to press Control Shift P. So by doing so, it allowed us to create individual pegs for all the drawings selected. So usually in cutout rig or cutout animation in general, it is always best practice to create individual pegs for all the drawing layers created. So that way, kapag meron tayong pegs for each drawings that we have created here, we can animate each part individually. Okay? So for example, we need to only animate or to only adjust the movement of the eyeball. We can do that because we have a separate peg for that one. Okay? So let's move on. So after creating the individual pegs, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a master peg, which will control the entire thing as one. So I will be selecting all the pegs all at the same time and then press Control P to create that master peg. Okay. So let me just rename this quickly. So I'm going to rename this peg. So I'm going to open the layer properties. So let's rename this as I underscore master dash P. Okay. Okay, so right now we're starting to have a hierarchy here. So in cutout animation, when we say hierarchy, it's basically we have there the parent and child relationship, wherein the child or the children will always follow the parent. So in this hierarchy right here, the individual pegs, the eyebrow, the pupil, and the eye, are basically the children. And then this eye master pegs will serve as the parent. So basically, this three will always follow the eye master. That's why if you're going to notice, if I'm going to be selecting this eye master peg right here, I'm actually selecting the entire hierarchy as one. So therefore, when I select this, I will be able to move it as one. I will be able to scale it and rotate it. But if I'm going to select the individual pegs, so for example, the pupil, I will only be selecting and moving the pupil only. Okay? So right now in this hierarchy, we have two choices. You can either select and animate the individual parts, or we can use the eye master peg to move the entire thing as one. Okay? So the next thing that I'm going to do here is I am going to create another peg for us to be able to control both the eyeball and the pupil together. So basically what I'm going to do here is just create a peg. So Control P. And then I will be inserting this peg in the existing hierarchy or in the existing connection. So since I want this peg to only control the eyeball and the pupil, I am going to insert it. So in my keyboard, I'm going to hold Alt and then simply insert it to the wire. So by holding Alt, that wire will automatically snap to its ports. That one. And then I'm going to connect this peg to the pupil. There you go. So I will be renaming this newly created peg as eyeball underscore master dash P. Okay, so what you're seeing right here right now is an improvement to our existing hierarchy. So a while ago, we were only able to select and move the individual pegs, and this IMaster peg to move it as one. So right now, in this particular progress, we inserted or we have created this eyeball master peg. So as you can see here, if I'm going to select the eyeball master peg, I will be able to select and move or transform the eyeball only. So usually in cutout animation or in production, what we do as animators is that we navigate the rig inside the camera view only. So it's very rare that we navigate the rig inside the node view because when we are dealing with a complex rigs or basically a whole body rigs, this network right here will be a lot more complex than this. So what we do is we navigate the rig here in the camera. So what I'm going to do is I will be selecting the iris. Then in my keyboard, I'm just going to press B to go up the hierarchy and Shift B to go down the hierarchy. So notice what happens when I press B on my keyboard. So if you're going to notice here in my node view, when I press B, it's actually going up the hierarchy. So right now, I'm in the drawing layer. When I press B, it will allow me to select the peg of that drawing. Press B again. That would be the eyeball master peg. And when I press B again, that will allow me to select the eye master peg. So let's try to go down. So to go down the hierarchy, simply press Shift B. Shift B, Shift B. So as you can see here, by creating this hierarchy, we were able to create an order of selection. Okay. So from the pupil, when I go up, I will be selecting the eyeball. And then when I go up again, I will be able to select the entire eye. Okay, so let's talk about masking. So a while ago, I showed you how to design this peg hierarchy. So now let's make this eye behave like an eye. So usually in this kind of rig, our main goal is to make sure that this iris or this pupil will always stay inside the eyeball. Because right now, if you're going to notice, if I am going to move this iris outside the area or the boundaries of the eyeball, it will still show. Okay, so our main goal right here is to make sure that this iris will be confined inside the drawing of the eyeball. So to do that, we're going to use the process or the concept of masking. So we need to contain this iris inside the drawing of the eyeball. So here in Harmony, we have a special node here called cutters. So in my node view, I'm going to press enter and search for a node called cutter. There you go. So by using this cutter, we will be able to confine or to isolate this iris inside the eyeball. So this cutter has two input ports. So we have here the image port and we have here the matte port. So in simple terms, here in the image port, this is where we're going to put or to connect the drawing that we want to isolate or to erase. Okay? And here in the matte port, this is where we are going to connect the drawing that will cause the erasure or the isolation. So, in image port, dyan natin i-connect o ilalagay yung drawing na gusto nating isolate or buburahin. And sa matte port naman, yung taga-bura. Okay? So that's how simple the logic for this cutter is. Okay. So since we want to isolate the pupil here, I'm going to connect the pupil here in the image port. So by holding Alt on your keyboard, I am going to insert the cutter in that existing connection. So hold Alt, then we connect. Then from here, I'm going to use the eyeball as the mat because we want this pupil to be isolated inside the drawing of the eyeball. So from the image port, I'm going to get that connection and I'm going to say to this setup that the eyeball will contain or will mask the pupil. So connection, then connected the matte port. So originally, in this simple setup, if I am going to connect this eyeball to the matte port, that pupil will be erased. So we don't want that. But instead, what I'm going to do here is I am going to invert the effect. So we have two ways to invert that effect. So you can either double click this mask button right here. There you go. Or you can go inside this layer properties and just stick that inverted option. So by inverting the effect, as you can see here, this iris will now be isolated or contained inside the drawing of the eyeball.